All right, let's talk about something huge coming out of the European Union that's about to change pretty much everything for software developers. We're talking a massive shift in how we build, sell, and maintain software. Seriously, if you work in tech, this is something you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. So let me just ask you a question. Are you selling any kind of software, maybe an app, or even an IoT device in the European Union? If the answer is yes, then you're going to want to lean in for this, because it directly affects you and your work. And the reason is this new law that's about to basically redefine your job. It's called the Cyber Resilience Act, or the CRA for short. And believe me, this isn't just another piece of regulation, it's a complete rethink of how our entire industry is supposed to handle cybersecurity. We are literally entering a new era for software. And look, the CRA isn't just another compliance checkbox you have to tick. No, it's a foundational change that demands security be built in from the absolute beginning. The whole idea, the core principle here, is something called security by design. You know how it usually works, right? For decades, security has been treated like an afterthought, a patch you slap on after the product is already built. Well, the CRA completely flips that script. It mandates that security is baked in from the very first design document, all the way through to the end of that product's life. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I've got plenty of time to figure this out, well, I've got some news for you. Think again. The clock is already ticking, and some of these deadlines are coming up fast. In fact, the clock already started ticking back in December 2024 when the act officially went into force. By September 2026, you've got early obligations kicking in, like mandatory vulnerability reporting. And then by December 2027, bam, full enforcement begins. We're talking mandatory SBOMs and secure updates. The transition is happening right now. So what's the stick here? What happens if you just don't comply? Well, get ready for this number. The penalties are huge, starting with a potential fine of 15 million euros. And that's just the starting number. It's actually 15 million euros, or 2.5% of your company's total global turnover from the year before, whichever number is bigger. Yeah, for a large company, that can be an absolutely eye-watering amount of money. But honestly, the fines might not even be the worst part. It really comes down to a simple choice. If you comply, you get to keep selling your products to the massive 450 million consumer EU market. If you don't, you're locked out completely. End of story. Okay, so the big question is, who is actually on the hook for all this? The CRA gets really specific about roles and accountability, especially when it comes to the world of open source. You really need to understand 3 key roles here. First, you've got the manufacturer. That's basically anyone putting a product on the EU market, and they bear the full legal weight. Then there's a new role, the open source steward. They become accountable if they're supporting an open source project for commercial use. And finally, you have the individual maintainers. Now, they're not directly liable, but you can bet the pressure on them is going to be huge from manufacturers who need their code to be secure. Look, the bottom line couldn't be simpler. The buck stops with the manufacturer. If your company's name is on that product, whether it's digital or physical, you own its security, from the very beginning to the very end. Right, so what does this all mean for your day-to-day work? If you're in DevOps, listen up, because your entire playbook is about to get a serious rewrite. First things first, get ready to hear the acronym SBOM a lot. It stands for Software Bill of Materials. And the analogy here is perfect. Just think of it as a list of ingredients for your software. It's a formal, machine-readable inventory of every single component and dependency in your application. So this ingredient list thing leads to a whole new to-do list. You've got to be able to generate and keep those SBOMs up to date. You need a solid, robust framework for handling vulnerabilities. And this is a big one. You have to ship security patches separately from your regular feature updates. You also have to report major vulnerabilities to EU authorities and even push your security fixes back upstream to the open source projects you depend on. What this means is your whole DevOps workflow needs to evolve, like right now. You have to automate SBOM generation, stick it right in your CI/CD pipeline. Your update process might need a total overhaul to keep those security fixes separate. You'll need formal, clear channels for reporting vulnerabilities, and you'll have to start embedding things like regular risk analysis and code signing into your everyday work. Okay, I get it. This probably sounds like a lot, maybe even overwhelming, especially if you're on a smaller team. But here's the good news. You are not alone in this.
The industry is already mobilizing to help everyone get through it.
A huge effort is already underway called the Open Regulatory Compliance Working Group, or ORC for short. It's a massive collaboration designed specifically to create practical tools and resources to help all of us navigate these new rules. And just check out who's behind this. We're not talking about some small side project. It's hosted by the Eclipse Foundation, and you've got absolute heavyweights on board. Microsoft, Google, Red Hat, GitHub, even companies you might not expect, like Mercedes-Benz and Nokia. There are over 50 member organizations involved here, so it's a massive cross-industry team effort.
So what's the ORC actually doing? Their whole goal is to give us practical help. We're talking clear specifications, best practices, and open source tooling to make all of this easier. And this is so important. It also acts as a bridge, a unified voice for the industry to talk directly with regulators to make sure the rules are actually practical.
You know, when you step back, the best way to see all this isn't as a burden, but as an opportunity, a real catalyst for change. This is our chance to finally make security a built-in, non-negotiable part of our daily work, and to help build a software ecosystem that's more resilient, more secure, and ultimately a whole lot easier for everyone to trust.
So here we are. The deadlines are set, the requirements are crystal clear, and the stakes, they're incredibly high. This isn't some far-off what-if scenario. The Cyber Resilience Act is happening now. So the only real question left to ask is your code ready?